Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte. Wait for them to call in, 214-504-3854. These guys are UFO experts. Noe, I know he went to UT. He's got a bachelor's degree from UT. Authors. They've been on TV shows. Been all over it. We got one of them on the line right now.
I think so. Let's go ahead and find out here. Twisted Fiction Radio. Who's this?
Hi there. My name's Ruben Uriarte. I'm going to be a guest on your show.
You know what? You already are, Mr. Uriarte. This is Big John here, and of course, Larry Stanley's over there as well. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it, Ruben, Larry. I don't know. I have no idea what the hell's going on.
Hey, Ruben, what's up? It's Larry Stanley. Thanks for calling in tonight.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, man, and you're out in California, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm out here in California. I'm up in Northern California, in the Bay Area.
Bay Area. Okay, getting ready to come to Texas, Del Rio, January 23rd for the UFO conference.
Oh, yes. My good friend Noe. Is he on there already? Did he in touch with you guys?
No, he hadn't called in yet.
Yeah, we're waiting for him to call. So Noe should be join us here shortly in just a minute. So,
okay.
So, cool. So you're coming January 23rd, Del Rio, Texas. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing at the UFO conference.
Oh, we're going to be... Noe is one of the main coordinators, and we have a number of guests that's going to be coming to Del Rio. We can get specifically into all these great speakers that we have lined up. But this is the third year that we've had the UFO Festival, and it's been really well received by the community. And we're going to be the theater and all that information. We'll get that to you real quickly for the audience. But it's been a really interesting ride for us, meeting a lot of the community out there, the people along the border zones. Noe and I have worked on other conferences along the Texas-Mexican border, and it primarily relates to the type of research that we've been doing. We've co-authored several books together, and primarily it's been about events that have occurred on both sides of the border.
What are
primarily along Texas?
What are some of the books you guys have written together, Ruben?
Oh, we have several. We have a website called RoswellBooks.com, and we first wrote a book called the Mexico's Roswell. The Chihuahua, it happened in the state of Chihuahua, and we later followed. We have actually a second edition of that book, and then we wrote another book about that case where it's all about a small airplane that collided with a UFO over the desert in northern Chihuahua. What was interesting about this object was that it was tracked by military radar along the Gulf Coast of Mexico when it was flying toward Brownsville, and then it made an abrupt turn and flew over Mexican airspace. And it wasn't until that object collided with a small airplane that was departing from El Paso.
Wow! And
the way we learned about this case is based on a document that was released in the early, I believe, the 80s, to a number of UFO researchers. The report was sent anonymously, and it completely described the case.
Okay, Ruben.
And what had happened.
And there you go. And let's go ahead and welcome your friend and cohort in the UFO conference, Noe Torres. Noe, welcome to Twisted Fiction Radio. How are you, sir?
Hey, good evening. I see we're putting our best foot forward because I heard Ruben's fine talking there a minute ago. So yeah, I'm calling from Edinburgh, Texas, here in the Rio Grande Valley, and I'm glad that we have a chance to be on tonight. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, man. We're excited to hear about all the UFO doings at the conference coming up in a week or so, but we also just want to hear about the truth being out there. So I want to know all about that.
No, you're a UT guy, right? You went to UT?
Yes, sir. I got both my bachelor's and master's degrees at UT in Austin, and I had a fantastic time in Austin during my my time there in the 70s, and then again in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I lived in Austin for quite a while and really enjoyed it. Still go back frequently and have a lot of friends there.
Okay, so you're a UT guy, Austin, 70s, 80s, and then tell me what led to your interest to UFOs. What made you go, hey man, there's UFOs out there, I'm going to start researching these things?
Well, I've always been, most of the folks like me who grew up in the 60s were really into the space program, and then I was also quite a science fiction fan. You know, it was the golden age of science fiction, the 50s and 60s. And we even had some really good television shows which the concepts behind them even persist today. For example, Star Trek, which we have a series of really outstanding motion pictures that have been made in the past few years. But Star Trek originated in the mid-60s. And so there was a lot of activity and a lot of flowing of creativity regarding space travel, the possibility of extraterrestrial life. A gentleman named Eric von Däniken began writing his series of books called Chariots of the Gods, where he posed the theory that perhaps Earth was visited in the distant past by extraterrestrials, and that perhaps they had a hand in our evolution as a species. And that was kind of a very key moment in UFO research, which happened in the late 60s, early 70s. So I was swept up in all of that. I remember as a child running to my school library and also my local public library. I was very much of a reader and still am. And of course, that eventually led to myself becoming a librarian. I've been a librarian for nearly 30 years now.
Wow.
But anyway, I would race to the library and check out every book on the shelf about UFOs. So my interest has been deep and pervasive ever since my childhood, and it was enhanced or even magnified by the fact that my own mother had an amazing encounter, which she used to tell me about. It happened to her in the 1940s in an outdoor setting in a wood near my home, near the home where I grew up later. So having the combination of, there was this incredible, intense experience that she underwent, that she used to tell me about, plus my own interest in space travel.
What was her experience? I don't mean to interrupt you, but so was her experience? I mean, did she actually see a UFO? Tell us a little more about it, about what her experience was.
She had a relatively close encounter. In fact, my mom's experience was included in a very good book put together by Brad Steiger. Brad Steiger is one of the top authors, and has been since the 60s, about dealing with the topic of paranormal events and UFOs. So in Brad Steiger's book, Real Encounters, Different Dimensions, and Otherworldly Beings, which I'm looking at a copy that I have here in my library at home, he tells my mom's story about how she... my dad was away. He worked on construction crews in North Texas, and this happened in the Rio Grande Valley, right at the tip, the southern tip of Texas. And it was a dark night. She heard a lot of commotion outside and saw lights, so she walked out into the woods. And when suddenly, right above her head, there was mechanical noises, and there were lights spinning wildly all around her. And at that time, my family had several dogs, as pets, and the dogs started jumping up into the air, snapping their jaws at something that was above her head. And she used to tell me, and I could see the struggle in her as she remembered what happened that night. She tried her very best to look up, but she used to tell me that it was as if her neck muscles were frozen, and she could not physically make her neck muscles work to look up to see what was above her head.
Wow,
But
so she was
heard
paralyzed.
the noise, a loud whirring noise, commotion. She could see the trees all around her rustling in a very strong wind. The animals were reacting. There were 3 or 4 pet dogs jumping up in the air, snapping their jaws. And then she said that she was a very religious person, so she got down on her knees and just started to pray. And she said an unknown amount of time later, and she didn't know how much time transpired. Suddenly, she described it as if somebody had turned off a light switch.
Wow.
The noise suddenly stopped, the lights went out, the dog stopped reacting to whatever was above her head.
Now, you said that this was
And,
down there, right on the southern tip. You guys actually
Right.
have written, 3 books, at least 3 books about UFO cases, but they've actually occurred along the Texas-Mexico border. I mean, is there a lot of activity down there? I know that your mom had her, encounter, but we usually hear, about the Roswell and the Area 51, which are, in the southwest. But is there a lot of activity right there on the Mexico-U.S. border?
Well, actually there is, and interestingly enough, I'm involved in a project to put together the most famous UFO encounters and sightings throughout history that have occurred in the state of Texas. There's a group that's interested in creating a Texas UFO museum, which would highlight all of the big UFO events that have occurred, in the state. And so I've been involved in doing the research on the cases. And yes, we have found, and Ruben and I also, in working on our books and talking to witnesses and kind of patrolling the southern border of the United States in search of UFO incidents, we have also run across a high number of UFO encounters that have occurred historically.
Yeah.
All along the Texas-Mexico border, not just in Texas, but extending on into Arizona and on west, even to Southern California. So we think northern Mexico, for whatever reason, is like a magnet for these types of paranormal events. And maybe Ruben can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
We're not certain why, but there seems to be a very high incidence of these.
Because the Mexican food is badass up there. If I was an alien, I would go to northern Mexico in a big way.
It's Twisted Fiction Radio. We're talking to Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte. They got a UFO conference coming up January 23rd, Del Rio, Texas. Hey, Ruben, Noe, you guys investigate all these UFOs all the time. We've seen hard evidence. Everybody's seen hard evidence. They're UFOs. We don't know what they are. They're unidentified. But since we know these UFOs are out there, my question is, who is flying? Who's flying these UFOs? Are they aliens? Are they government? Who do we have that are piloting these things?
Well, let me. I'll answer that, and then please jump in, Noe, as well. But as both Noe and I belong to an organization called MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, and I'm the state director for Northern California. And our job is basically to investigate cases that are reporting to us. Kind of give you an idea, we've had over close to 10,000 cases that were reported last year in our database. Approximately 8,000 of those cases were in the United States, and over 2,000 cases were from other countries. And I looked at the states as far as normally California, Northern and Southern California, we tend to get the most cases reported, and then it's followed by Texas, and then the rest of the states then follow. But in our reports, we get people report seeing a variety of objects. So we have like 23 categories. And in that, people sometimes have a very close encounter where they're able to actually see the occupants. And they come in a variety of interesting descriptions, from these little small 3 to 4 foot, referred to as grays, to humanoid-looking creatures. So, and it goes on. And so, who they are, where they're from, why they're here, we don't know, but we can just make a speculation. But the more we look at data and the more we get testimony from a variety of witnesses, we know it gives us an idea. And again, this is happening all over the world, and we do have a network of people that we work closely with, and we share information. So I have no doubt, and I have my personal experience too to share with you, because that's what got me interested.
Yes.
When I had my own sighting when I was a young kid, which it made a definite imprint on me. And then later I had another significant sighting when I was in England. But most people get involved in this because they see strange things and are trying to find what the truth. What is it? Are they crazy? No. I mean, you have a real phenomena that's occurring worldwide.
Well, as Spooky Mulder would say, the truth is out there, man. The truth is out there, and we make fun of it a little bit, or we kind of make light, because I think people are scared of the potential, for life, extraterrestrial life. Either you're really excited and you think it's really kind of interesting, whether you believe it or not, which is kind of where the camp that I'm in, or if you're, like terrified of the whole thing, thinking that they're going to come and colonize the whole world. I think, the fact that Hollywood kind of puts a lighter spin on it makes it a little bit more palatable. But I seriously, find it very interesting, and there's a tremendous amount of people, obviously, that find it interesting, and smart people like you guys.
Noe, let me ask you a question real quick while we have you on. You're the researcher. You're the guy that does all the studying, looks it all up. Lots of stories about underground bases, underground military bases ran by aliens. Dulce, New Mexico, Area 51. These secret bases, have you researched them? And if you have, what goes on there?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and a lot of people have read articles online, and I always tell my audiences when I speak that you have to be really careful what you look at online. You really can't trust probably 98% of what's online. We have a lot of people, unfortunately, that make the things that they do make the work of UFO researchers like Ruben and myself even more difficult, because they post a lot of frivolous, fake pictures and reports. And there's a lot of that out there, which we have to deal with. It's trying to find the legitimate events in all this noise and hubbub of stuff that's totally ridiculous.
In something that's so secretive and so hush-hush, how do you do that? How do you filter through the junk and find the gold,
Because there's a lot out there.
There is a ton.
It's really difficult. Yeah, and we also have found some very compelling evidence. There was a documentary made recently. There was a book called Project Beta that was done recently, and another documentary about the fact that, and this made sense to me when I read this, because there have been so many UFO sightings that have been associated with military bases, or there are supposedly secret underground military facilities where ETs are kept and stuff like that. And then there are a lot of UFO sightings that have occurred near military bases or on military bases. Well, a lot of the research now that we've been doing recently shows that some of these, at least some of these, may be government disinformation attempts. The reason being that if you create a lot of noise out there about UFOs, that helps to create a cover for secret military aircraft and other research projects.
Yeah, you kind of overstimulate overstimulate everybody's senses, and everybody goes, nah, it's all a bunch of crap, because most of the stuff is disinformation.
So the bottom line is, we think that a lot of this noise that's created out there in the environment may be coming from government sources and other disinformation
Speaking of noise
specialist.
in government sources, that makes me kind of think of Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton came out and said she wants to get to the bottom of this. So did Bill Clinton when he was running for office. If you remember, he was like, I want to know what's going on with aliens. I want to know everything about UFOs. Another guy that did this, John F. Kennedy, wound up dead right after he did it. What is the likelihood, Noe and Ruben, what is the likelihood Hillary Clinton's going to be the one to expose us to all the knowledge we have in the government about UFOs?
Well, there was an interesting comment that went along with the questioning of Hillary about that. She was in New Hampshire campaigning, I believe it was January 3rd or 4th, and she spoke to a reporter who asked her about the UFO question. And she did say that if she were elected president, she was going to look into all of the government secrets about UFOs and aliens, and also she was interested in putting together a task force and going to investigate Area 51.
Now, Bill Clinton said the same stuff before he got elected, and they shut him down.
Right. But here's the other interesting thing she said. She said that the number one topic during Bill Clinton's 2 presidential terms, which of course she was involved in as First Lady.
Was she really involved, or was she just turning her head? I'm just asking.
Who knows?
Was she just turning her head the other way?
The number one topic received by the White House in terms of Freedom of Information requests was about UFOs. So that was the number one topic they received during the Bill Clinton presidency. So she knows that this is something that people are very interested in, and so obviously she's probably thinking she could pick up some votes or generate some publicity by speaking about it.
But you don't think that she has any real interest in making this a presidential act. She's just trying to jump on the bandwagon.
She may have an interest in doing it, and other presidents and presidential candidates have had an interest in doing so, but they will not be granted access to some of the things because they are, in essence, they are transient civil servants. They're in office 4 or 8 years, and they are not they do not have access to the deep, dark files.
Who does? Who does have access to those files?
It's not us. I would like to know, actually.
Damn it! I was hoping they were going to tell us all the good stuff in there.
Hey, Noe, Ruben, listen, guys, we are running out of time quickly here. Tell us real quick again about the U.S. conference, January 23rd in Del Rio. How do we get tickets?
We've got a super conference lined up in Del Rio, Texas, and tickets and all the information about the conference is available from delrioufo.com. It's very simple to remember.
Yeah.
Ticket sales are online, and we've got the schedule of speakers. We've got Travis Walton, the world's most famous UFO abductee, speaking about his experience. And we've got many, many other great speakers and UFO researchers. So, delrioufo.com.
And if this is my first UFO conference I'm going to, and I'm planning on attending for the first time, what can I expect here, and what should I bring?
Well, it's a lot of fun. You can approach this topic on many levels, but we approach it as a family-friendly event. The kids dress up, and there's activities there's outdoor music, there's street vendors, and then, of course, there's the opportunity to educate yourself more on the topic, because we bring in experts from all over the country, such as Robert Schroeder from Boston is coming in, among others. So it's also an opportunity to educate as well as to entertain. It's a very fun time. It's patterned after the Roswell UFO Festival.
Well, and I mean, in our winning moments here, I mean, you guys seem like very, very smart guys, and you've got PhDs and more brain power between the two of you than I could ever hope to have. But I don't feel like you guys are the ones we're going to run into at the conference. I mean, I think that we're going to run into a bunch of real freak shows out there. So what percentage, and be honest with me here, come on, this is what I've been wanting to ask the whole time.
Absolutely not. It's
what percentage?
It's not at all a freak show. Not at all a freak show. We have doctors, lawyers, professionals that attend. We have
but what percentage of those are that? Is that like 2%, and then the other 98% are weirdos, or is it actually becoming a lot more mainstream?
Well, what is the percentage of weirdos in society? I would say you have a low percentage.
Well, you got,
Attending
It's 100% right here on this show. But
oh, right.
hey, Noe Ruben, thanks for joining us tonight. Have you guys heard of the taco cleanse?
What was that?
Have you guys heard about this taco cleanse? It's the new cleanse that's sweeping the nation. Jennifer Aniston came out and
Oh,
endorsed
God, we're going to have to look into that, Ruben.
it. Yeah,
yeah, the taco.
we got the author, Jessica Morris. She's coming on with us next. It's Jennifer Aniston's new fad. So they got this.
I think she's an alien. So
These people down in Austin, down in your neck of the woods, Noe, they came up with this. So this is an Austin thing.
Hey, I'll be the first to try it then.
There you guys go. Hey,
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
thank you guys so much for joining us on Twisted Fiction Radio. We have a bunch of more questions to get to, so we'll have to have you guys back on when you get ready to plan your next conference. Let us know, and we'll get you back on the air with us.
Thank you so much for having us, and stay twisted,
Yeah.
okay?
Absolutely.
We'll do. Thank you, Noe and Ruben Uriarte. There you go. Catch those boys. January 23rd, Del Rio, Texas, UFO conference. When we come back, we have to talk about this taco cleanse. Jessica Morris, she's the author of it. Jennifer Aniston, she's endorsing it. It's Twisted Fiction Radio, 107theblaze.rocks, 214-504-3854.